Hey, Duke Machado here, Lexit USA Strike Force, and we are in Houston with our third candidate, Caroline Walter. And, the first two were out block walking, so it was a little walk and talk and that sort of thing. But here we are, nice and cool in your home. Thank you for having us here. Tell us a little about yourself and why you're in this race. What is it about being involved in the school board that's your passion? What's on your mind?
Sure. I have 3 young kids that are in HISD schools. They're in elementary school, and I've paid close attention over the years since they've started about kind of what was going on the school board, the decisions they were making. I've attended a lot of school board meetings. I watched the ones I couldn't attend, and pretty much right from the beginning, I was a little bit concerned about our board. And
what were you seeing? What was a concern?
Well, one of the first meetings I walked into, there was actually a physical altercation between 2 board members. They had been in an argument about the superintendent drama, if you will, and it ended up in where they had to be physically separated. And I said to myself, I'm like, this can't be there must be a mistake. This can't be our board. Lo and behold, it was. And so paid closer attention after that. And the arguing and the fights and the drama kind of continued. It got to the point where the state filed a lawsuit against HISD, and they're still in litigation, and they're in danger, our board, of being taken over by the state of Texas and a board to come in and replace them. And I think that got a little bit put on the back burner with COVID in the last 2 years, because that was in 2019. But since that started, they never really did anything to fix the problems that the state was kind of taking.
Concern with you.
They did nothing to fix.
And that had to do with backdoor meetings.
It had to do
things like that.
There was 2 things. There was the failing grades. There was a school, Wheatley High School, that had a failing grade for multiple years, which was unacceptable. And then there was the back meetings, the closed, the violation of the Open Meetings Act, and they were clearly in violation of that, and that's still actually ongoing, that most people don't know about. And it's a little scary that these people that are under investigation are still serving on our board for 2 years now, making
decisions for kids.
Yeah.
So right out of the blocks, you saw there's something not right here.
Yeah, it was a lot of drama, and you can't. The biggest problem among them was not each of them as individual board members, but they were unable. And this is 4 years. This wasn't like a 1 year, 2 years. They cannot work as a cohesive unit. It's almost like they just can't get along. They try, they just can't get along with each other. They're fighting. Just last year, they were voting to elect a new board president. It went 10 rounds. They couldn't agree. So if you're having those problems amongst yourselves, there's no way you are leading the school district in a good direction. You have to come together, whether you have different opinions or not. Otherwise, the only ones suffering are the kids.
Well,
and they are.
It's there's 200,000 students.
200,000, yeah.
The leadership required to manage that is tremendous responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I hear you about you have to have cohesiveness. So what do you think you bring to the table?
So what I bring to the table is, I'm, number one, a mom. I'm living these results of these decisions every day with my 3 kids. Every decision that is made by this board, I'm seeing happen in real life. So I'm in it. Mm-hmm. And I don't like it for my kids. And if I don't like it for my kids, I don't like it for your kids. Mm-hmm. It's not right. They are implementing their political agendas. It's not about the kids. There's no budget transparency for the taxpayers. There are schools that are still, 40 schools have no libraries. That's blows my mind. That's the most basic thing resource school can have. Yes, libraries. And then there's schools that also have libraries, but they don't have books in them. You can't get worse than that. It's the most basic.
So there's failures just everywhere.
Across the board, yeah. There are,
And so who does it really fail?
it fails the students. These kids, and COVID was a turning point for me because I really saw, we had all these problems, then we have this big problem, which is going to be difficult for any board to address. But when you already have a board that's dysfunctional, there's no shot that you're gonna go through a pandemic and come out on top. So right off the bat, they were fighting for virtual learning for I think the whole year, and we got it down to 6 weeks, which was good because it was proven that virtual learning wasn't
these kids, yeah.
But there was 40,000 students that they were missing. And I was sitting in a board meeting and I was listening to them say, hey, what are we going to do about these 40,000 students? And one of the trustees made a joke and said, oh, maybe if we offer free Whataburger, they'll come back. And it's not funny because most of the HISD schools are in underserved areas. They are areas of minorities, and especially the older kids, like once you're gone, you're not coming back. Like you're getting involved in things you shouldn't be involved in. Yeah, you're not going back. You're not going to take that iPad that HISD hands you and do the right things with it. So that really was kind of an eye-opening moment for me. And I think what it comes down to is we need people on this board that actually want to help these kids. They're not thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about their aspirations, what this can bring to them and their careers or their lives. It's about the kids.
Yeah, you're not looking for those opportunities for self-gain or anything like that.
I couldn't sleep at night.
You would, yeah. Well, I can tell already just by knowing you the short time that would bother you. So when it comes to like kids graduating and being prepared, is the school district? No, I don't even have to finish that.
40,
so that's real sadness right there.
I think 40% of the students are just not reading at grade level. I'm not sure the current graduation levels, but they're not acceptable. They're not what they should be right now. And I think a big priority of mine is reading, because you could do all these fancy matrices and these fancy things you want to teach and implement in your schools. If these kids can't read, none of that is going to mean anything. If every student is not reading at grade level by the 3rd grade, there's a direct correlation between that and not only high school graduation, but success in life. So that needs to be priority number 1 in our younger students. And then as they get older, these kids need to be, some of them are going to be traditional learners, some of them are going to be not traditional learners. So regardless of how they learn, kind of their strengths and weaknesses, all these students need to be empowered and feel like there's something that they have that someone else doesn't have, and they could use that and they could advance and they could go to college or go to a trade school and just have a career and be a success in life. Like that's the end goal, right? Like we want these kids to graduate, move on to college if that's for them, hopefully. If it's not, maybe they have another path, but there needs to be, that's the end goal, being successful in life.
And we all want that for our kids, but a lot of, obviously it's not enough to want it. You have to put people in place to make things, make that environment happen for our kids. How do we do these things? Is it, or do we have the right teachers in place? Do we need to pay teachers more and get better teachers? Is it all about teachers? Is it?
It's not all about one thing at all, but there are my biggest priority is the teachers, because here's the thing. A lot of these students are coming from homes where, maybe it's a single parent home. Maybe they're being raised by their grandparents. Maybe they don't have a great support system at home. So it's even more important for these students to have teachers that are up for the challenge, and they will not only teach them what they're put there to teach them, but also to kind of build confidence in them and say, hey, listen, like you can do this. Like just when they don't want to do it anymore, they're just discouraged. You need teachers that they want them to succeed.
That they won't give up on the students.
And we're not going to get that when, as a district, we are paying our teachers at least 5% less than similar districts in our area. And with that disparity, you're never going to get, and then keep these teachers. They come, then they leave. They go to a school that's offering them more money, and that's just the pattern. And unless we start compensating them better, they're not going to come and they're not going to stay. And you can teach them all these things in the world. It's not going to be enough because they don't have the confidence behind them.
And the incentive.
Yeah, they don't have the motivation.
Yeah, the motivation.
They need to be motivated. They need to go to school and be motivated and feel like excited to be there and feel like they're achieving something.
You know, America is a great country. We've got we have the potential for all these awesome systems, and we found ways to raise money, to have nice schools and things like that. You know, in your district, you've probably got a lot of immigrants,
We do.
new first-time immigrants or second generation Americans. What's your story to those guys? What do you say to those people?
I'm a second generation American. My grandparents immigrated here from Italy. And, you know, Italians have a lot of the same values as the Hispanic community. We're family first, hard workers, and proud to be in America. They came here and they are so proud to have grandkids that are natural born Americans. They worked hard so their kids and their grandkids, which I'm one of their grandchildren, could have a better life than they had. And my parents worked so I can have a better life than they had. And they instill work ethic, and the end goal is to be successful. So one day we can move on, have a job, have a family, and provide for our family better than our parents provided for us.
So the question is, with all the Latino students and their parents who are the voters in these elections, how do they make the choice, or how do they make that decision to say, you know what, I'm gonna shift away from the types of people we've been voting for and go with someone like you? Is it
because I am you. I have kids just like you.
Yeah.
And probably just like you, I want to have a say in what they're learning. I want to feel comfortable every morning when they go to school, that they feel not only comfortable and safe, but they're being treated well, they're being taught the right things. And that's not happening right now. Our current board sees parents as a nuisance. They don't listen to anything we say. You should be able, every one of us needs to remember that the Board of Trustees work for us, the parents, the community members. And you should be able to go to your board if you have a problem with something going on in your child's school. You need to be able to get in touch with your trustee. You need to be able to feel comfortable stating your concerns and get a response and get a change and have your thoughts addressed. It's not acceptable for these trustees to just cut out the parents, because we're the ones that know our children. They haven't met them.
So let's talk about two major topics right now that obviously the mandates for vaccines and masks. I saw a post someone shared with me, pretty much saying that if you stand with not mandating, then somehow you're uninformed, uneducated, you don't know what you're talking about. That pretty much shaming everyone into wearing a mask. How are you going to hold up to all the pressures of mask mandates?
Well, here's the thing that no one's really addressing, that trustees on a school board, we're not doctors. We never claim to be doctors. I don't have the authority to make a medical choice for any child besides my own. So essentially, it's not even in my control. That's number one. And number two is the only people to make these medical choices for children are their parents. So if you want to send your child to school in a mask, 2 masks, that is your right. You shouldn't be bullied for that. You should not be made uncomfortable for that. That is absolutely your right. But the right goes both ways. There are children, especially the younger children, that it does them more harm than good. Whether that be, just a physical, uncomfortable, feeling, Or, when you're learning to read as a young child, like, you need to see, your teacher's mouth. You need to learn, you need to see smiles. There's more to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the right goes both ways. And right now it's only going in one direction. And right now we're talking about masks. And a year from now, we could be talking about something completely different. And once you kind of give that authority to a school board, there's no going back. And I just don't think it's the direction any parent should want to go in.
Yeah. And the critical race theory is just on fire all across the country.
Yeah.
And it's because there are schools there are states that are advancing it.
Yeah.
And in Texas, although it's not legal to do it, right? They say it's not supposed to be happening. We all know that things get pushed in somehow. And so your position on that?
I'm against critical race theory being taught in our schools, and I want to make it clear that I'm absolutely in favor of history being taught, even the history that's not so pretty.
Mm-hmm.
The civil rights era was not pretty for our country, but my children come home and they tell me what they learned at school, and they learned about all the people, Dr. King, Rosa Parks, that made a stand to fight for equality, and they won.
Mm-hmm.
So our kids should 100% learn about that. What's happening now is not history. They're teaching children that they are inferior for the way they were born. They're teaching others they are superior. They're teaching racism. They're separating them by race. These kids don't see color. They just don't. And for teachers and schools to bring this into the classroom, it's sad to me, because these kids should be taught how to think, not what to think.
Now, what about budgets? Is there enough money in the school district to do things that need to be done, or is it just
There is enough money. There is enough. We're $4 billion in debt. I don't know how that happened over the past 4 years. Someone should, look into that. But there's enough money. So 88% of our funding comes from the taxpayers. The remainder comes from the state. Our budget that we passed this year is, I believe, $2 billion. So there's enough money to do what needs to be done. There's enough money to go to teacher salaries. There's enough money to go to libraries. Where that money is going, we don't know, because right now, like I told you before, our teacher salaries are lower than they should be. And then there's areas where our contracted services are about 10% higher than they should be. So it would be interesting to really break down that budget and see where it's going, because at the end of the day, balancing a budget is kind of like balancing your home budget. You have X amount of dollars. Well, you really want a new cell phone, but maybe you can't get that cell phone because what's more important is, paying the water bill. So it's kind of the same thing. If we put the money in the right areas, there's plenty. When we're putting it in the wrong areas, the kids suffer, and
the kids suffer, and their futures suffer, and yeah. Well, I'll give you a final word to say anything on your mind, or a message to voters in your district.
Sure. So I'm going to ask that you vote for me, Caroline Walter, on the ballot this November. I'm a family first candidate. I put the parents. I think I want a partnership with you all. I want to hear what you have to say. If you don't like something that's going on in your school, I want to hear it from you. I will work with you. And I think that is the way we create successful schools in a successful district, by working together. And we're missing that now, and we really need to place importance on that. So I want to hear from you and what you have to say.
So you're going to work hard. You're going to be relentless.
Like a dog with a bone. I am a dog with a bone, and I want to fix this. I've got kids. I've got 3 kids upstairs, and every decision I make is affecting them. So that should give you comfort to know that
you're vested.
I've got skin in the game too. I'm just trying to create a better schools for all the kids.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it was a pleasure meeting you, and
Thank you.
I know that people will want to find more information. What's your website?
My website is carolinewalter.net. You can find my social media pages on there and even my phone number, and I'd be happy to speak with you.
And your phone number. So we're going to be recruiting people to volunteer in your campaign. And so thank you for the time. And,
Thank you.
And our volunteers will get busy.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just found out in our talking that parents are not allowed in any of the schools in Houston Independent School District.
Yeah, no, we are banned right now. Since in-person school started again, there is a no visitor policy. So, I used to be in the school probably at least 3 days a week, just kind of volunteering or doing, Friday reader and just all the things that parents, especially with elementary age kids, could do, volunteering in the library, and we're just shut out now.
No access.
No access.
So you would change that if you were on the board?
100%. Parents have an absolute right to see with their own eyes where their kids are going to school, meet their teachers, see their classroom. It's an absolute disgrace that we are not allowed in the building.